If only I had spidey senses, so I can tell when something's wrong. Oh, and I'm set to protect this heart from breaking into pieces. Where's my hammer? Where's the shield? All the strength to carry the weight of the world. Fly high into the sky. I'll catch you if you fall. I'll catch you if you fall. Fly high into the sky. I'll catch you if you fall. I'll catch you if you fall.
What's going on, everybody? How are you all doing this week? Of course, I am your Snap GD. Yeah, that would have been a blooper reel. DJ, your host with the most, and welcome to another episode of Snap Decisions. I hope you're all having a fun time with all the new cards today. Of course, new season. New season starts today. The symbiote season, the We Are Venom season. Not exactly sure what they're calling it, but whatever it is, it has started today. I got the chance to play a little bit with not Agent Venom yet, because I don't quite know what I'm going to use him for yet. But I got to play with the other new card that we got today. And of course, that is Scream. So I did play a little bit of that. I kind of made an offensive move deck, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I won a few games with it on ladder, but then I lost to which I'll get to, the annoying decks that I met across the weekend when I was trying to get from 96 to 100. Man, I'll tell you, you gotta be honest, I think, a lot of the times. And you know, I know that a lot of the creators that do this and everything like that, you know, they hype up the game and stuff like that, just like I do. But sometimes you run into issues where you just get frustrated, right? And I'm just being real, you know, and I got quite frustrated on Sunday when I was trying to level up, and I should know better. I've gotten, you know, a lot of people had said to me, don't try to get to infinite on the last day or the next to last day, because it's just crazy impossible, because the meta is just all over the place. And that's kind of what I ran into. Unfortunately, the meta was all over the place, but for the most part, I was running into a lot of Clog, a ton of Clog. And I was running into a lot of RSM, which I didn't really expect, because I didn't think RSM was still that popular of a deck in the meta. At least, you know, I know last month into a lot of this month wasn't. I didn't see it at all. And then all of a sudden, just tons of RSM. And then the other one was the lockdown stuff with War Machine. And it, you know, it was just, it was rough. I was playing with, and I'll get into it in a little bit. First, before we do, and I'll get into the show obviously properly after this, but welcome in. Thank you for coming out and checking out the show. I appreciate that. Before we go any further, if you are new to the YouTube channel, or you don't usually watch or listen on YouTube, please make sure you like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I would appreciate that. And obviously, you can see right up here, I am part of the Snap Judgments podcast and lineup, and it is the one-stop shop for all your podcasting needs. We've got the kid, Snap. How can she snap? Of course, the kid and No Big Deal. They just did a show on Sunday. I watch their show every week. They're great. Awesome guys. And I know, you know, they've got the kid, he's working on night shifts and stuff. That's really hard to do. And then not to mention just come out and do content and stuff like that. So yeah, check that show out. Those guys are great. Snap on This with Ben Roller, Lauren, and Ree, fantastic group of people, and they do awesome work. I was listening to their episode this past one that they go over all the new cards for this month on my way to work and back home again. But yeah, great podcast. They are awesome people. They have a ton of fun on there, do a lot like games and stuff like that. It's great for a laugh. It's really fun podcast to listen to. And then of course, the parent podcast, and that is Snap Judgments with Glazer. Has all kinds of high-ranking guests on there, really good players and stuff on there. A lot of people that I've had on my show. He has Docty on there usually to go over the new cards when they come out. He's had Lambie on there. He's had Binks on there. He's had Regis Kilbin on there. A great show, so don't miss that. That's always a great show with Glazer, and that is on Saturday. So we'll start off like I always do with that. Okay, so I'm going to get into it a little bit in a different way here this week. So usually have I'm going to take a drink is what I'm going to do. There we go. That's better, I think. A live podcast, huh? So usually I start with the meta report and then we can snap. I'm going to start with kind of just a breaking news segment here tonight. So if you haven't heard already, this was all the stuff in the devs video. So if you haven't seen that, I'm going to go over it. I know I did a little thing on it, but I'm going to cover it again. And of course, this is the 2-year anniversary celebration of Marvel Snap. Now, this is coming in October. So this stuff is all coming in October. You're going to see up here just day 1 through 7, the things are given out. It's kind of cool. You're getting some boost, some borders. You're getting 3 borders. So that's all right. A new title. Yay. Credits, premium mystery variant, which is nice. So it's not a regular variant. It's a better variant, which is good because I have all the regular ones now, and I'm not getting anything anymore except for gold for those and gold and avatars when I pull them. So, and then we have a free variant that's coming. This is another vote for free variant. Remember the whole Team Torch thing? I was on Team Torch. And Terrobang started that, and we got that cool Human Torch face variant out of that. He came back to win. A lot of people thought it was going to be Shang-Chi, and he came back to win. So you got 3 of them here. Howard the Duck, the Noir Howard the Duck, which we kind of already have in different forms. Cool art. Destroyer, which is cool too. The little laser thing coming out of his head looks kind of cool when you split it and stuff like that. It looks kind of neat. But we just got a Destroyer comic book cover, which of course that's what will be the one I use from now on. And then we have Armor. Now I know Intero is doing it again and doing Team Duck. I get it. I'm kind of trying to persuade people to vote for Team Armor, and the reason that is because I'm going to consult with my Twitter really quickly, so just bear with me. But the reason that is, and I did share this, is because the artist who did a lot of stuff with Armor, name is John Cassidy, or Cassidy, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it, passed away in September. He was only 52 years old, younger than me. It's 3 years younger than me. And he does have some art in Marvel Snap, including the Armor card. So he has done an Armor card for Marvel Snap, and he has passed on at the age of 52. So, and then of course, Peach Momoko shared her little tribute to him, which was really cool. 2 Armors there. And so that's the reason why I'm on Team Armor. That's the reason why I'm going to vote for the Armor card, is because, kind of just a little tribute to John, to Mr. Cassidy, that could just be just kind of nice, right? To just tributize him in the loss of in his loss. So obviously you guys can vote for anyone you like to vote, and that will be later this month that will be happening, where you can actually go out and vote for these new cards. So, okay. Next up, we got of course, the announcement of High Voltage. High Voltage. So this is the new game mode, and they did go over it in detail, where you're going to have 3 turns. You're going to get random amounts of energy for each player. So it could go from 2 to 5. So you're going to get maybe 2 energy, but both players share it. So, or not share it, but both players get the same. So if somebody, if you get 2, both of you are getting 2. And then, get 5, both are getting 5. So it's just 3 turns. There's no snapping. There's no, there's no, like in Conquest, you don't lose anything from it or anything like that. There's no snapping in it. You're just playing your cards. I'm sure a lot of people are going to play Arshem. I don't know exactly how that's going to work in this. I don't know. We didn't get all the details yet. So a lot of people were talking about that last night, which, by the way, was an amazing, amazing conversation. I had Nick, the Greek Geek, was on with me yesterday. If you haven't checked that out yet, it's awesome. It's a long video. I get it. YouTube can be tough with long videos with the ads and stuff, but it was really, really fun conversation. He and I, first-time podcaster, I would have never known it, that he was never on a podcast before. He, of course, is a Twitch streamer. He's doing his Stream to Infinite tonight on his channel. But amazing conversation. We talked all about Snap, but we also talked a lot about comic books and our favorite comic book series. So go check that out. I know it is a little bit long. It is available on audio as well if you want to listen to it. We went 2.5 hours. Didn't really expect to do that, but sometimes when we have people on, we just get interested in topics and we talk about the stuff we like, and it just goes. And I didn't even realize it until the end. I'm like, wow, we talk for a long time, but I don't mind. It's a lot of fun doing that. So anyway, so High Voltage is coming. I think it's the 18th of October. It's going to last for 1 week. That is not High Voltage. There we go. And you're going to be able to earn all of this stuff that you see here on my board. So you get volts as your currency, and you're going to get, you'll see up here that little bar that says 415 to 1500. And then you have volts that you can spend down at the bottom. So there's avatars, there's tokens, there's a border, the red border, there are more tokens. I'm sorry, not tokens. There are, I forget what the hell they're called now. And then they have the card that you can get, and that's Agony. And then there's an Iron Man variant. I think the reason why, people are asking, you of course get Agony from this, which is Agony is the 1/2 after you play a card here, merge this with it from this. So number one, it's a free card, right? So free cards, free is good, right? Free is good. So we get, and then you see a refill now button. So I think it's going to be this edition of Deadpool's Diner. I don't exactly know how it's going to be. I do think though that it's going to be easier. I don't think it's going to be that hard to achieve this. You can see here, right? They're at 415 out of 1500 for missions, and they're like right about here. So they're halfway in. I don't think it's going to take you a lot to get this. I really don't, especially the fact that they're only making it a week long. So I don't think it's going to be that hard to achieve the free card. I know that, people didn't get Cassandra Nova, but with this, I have a funny feeling that it's going to be easier to get. And then that Iron Man variant looks kind of cool. I can't really tell what that is. He's in the middle of something there, but I can't really see exactly what it is. But yeah, look, again, like I said, 3 cubes, no energy, lots of energy, no cubes, 3 rounds. I think this is going to be cool. I think it'll be fun. These little games that we get, these little extras we get to the game, I think is always a good thing, especially for Snap when Pokemon is coming out. And it's getting all the attention right now. There are a lot of streamers playing it. There are a lot of people that have the Australian account and they're playing it, with that account. And a lot of them are showing off their cards and stuff like that. They're doing content on it. I know Regis Kilbin's been doing some content on it. I know Glazer's going to do some content on it. So Pokemon is hugely popular. So it's good for them to kind of do this and get some interest back into this game when the Pokemon craze goes nuts and starts up for real in the United States. So they're going to be kind of, it's going to be kind of the first time they're going to have a little bit of competition. And from what I hear, the Pokemon game is fast playing, so it's fast paced. So it's kind of like Snap in that respect. I can tell you I won't be playing. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the genre. I never got into it. I never played it when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it's not the right guy. I never played it in the 90s. Let me say that. I was playing Magic at that point in time, and I just never got into it. But I know a lot of people who do. So it's good for them to have this kind of a thing coming out this month that'll maybe get some energy back to Marvel Snap. So, and then of course, like I said, you do get the free card. So that's kind of cool. All right. Before we get into the meta report and the weekend Snap and all that, let's just take a look at the new cards. And I will tell you where I have ranked these cards from 1 to 6. So obviously the 6th card is, of course, Agony. I have her at 5. she doesn't enthuse me that much. It merges with a card. So yes, you can use this. I know a lot of people might want to use this in Destroy itself. You can merge it with Deadpool and make Deadpool a 3. And then he just goes up from there, 3 to 6, 6 to 12, and just, goes up from there when you destroy him. There's other things out there you can do with this. To me, when I first saw this card and the Uncle Ben card and the Tombstone card and some of the other ones, I kind of figured at that point in time they might have been snap pack cards, because I thought that they kind of look a little generic. And Uncle Ben, I mean, come on. He brings, when he's destroyed, he brings in Spider-Man. So you have to have something to destroy him. And then he brings Spider-Man into the game. I mean, so I thought that the mechanics on these cards weren't that great. They're kind of like, they definitely shouldn't be. I can tell you this. People don't get this card. They're going to be able to buy it. You're going to be able to get it from the token shop. They should not. And I know they probably will, but they should not sell this card for 5,000 tokens. There's just no way. I don't think this card is worth it. Half that would be better, but I don't know. But yeah, this card doesn't really thrill me. So I had her at 5 out of 6 cards for this month. I'm going to go, let me find my number ones and just go from there. So my number 1 of the month is Toxin. I am not a bounce player by any means, and probably will not be when this card comes out, but I know that this card is very much anticipated. It does look like it's going to be tremendously strong for that genre. Of course, he's a 2/1. On reveal, return your other cards here to your hand and +2 power for each one return. So if he returns 3 cards in a lane like Beast, he's going to be a 2/7. And then you can Beast him back and do it again. I mean, this guy can get up to like a 2/14, which is that's a lot. And then you're bouncing those cards back into your hand anyway, which is always prudent for a bounce deck. So this card is for sure, when it comes out, going to bring bounce back in a big way. I don't know if I'll be playing it. Bounce to me is headache inducing sometimes. And I've watched people play it that are good at it. Lambie was very good at it. Glazer plays it. A lot of other content creators were good at it. I was never into bounce. Bounce and move are 2 subgenres of decks that I probably will never end up playing or ever be any good at, because I never had practice with them. The cards going in all directions and stuff like that. Like if you're playing a Werewolf by Night in a bounce deck, you have to know exactly where to go with your on reveals and stuff like that. And it makes my head spin. So, but I do have this card ranked number 1 just because of how powerful it's going to be and reignite that bounce genre. So I think it's going to be a good card, and I think it's going to be the best card of the month. So I have him ranked number 1. This was my Anti-Venom is my 6th ranked card. And the reason I say that is it's a very cool idea, but he's a 4/6, not horrible, but not a great stat line. But the thing is, unless you're playing a card in your deck like Howard the Duck and you don't know what's coming, you could really make yourself sad with this card. I know that there are things that you want to have, right, that are going to come out at 0 cost. Sure. They're an Arnim Zola, let's say, or something, just take anything you'd put in like a Mr. Negative deck, right, that you want to have at a low cost. And there are a lot of cards like that you want to do. But if you have cards in your deck that are bigger power, let's say 6 cost cards and stuff like that, and this hits one of those, you're going to be a sad camper. Because if it doesn't have a hell of a cool ability, like let's say, for me, if I'm playing with Galactus and I hit Galactus with this, now Galactus is a 0/0 who does what he does, and forget it. He's not going to do anything because you're not going to get a lane with a 0/0. That's just an example. But, to me, it's a lot of RNG. It's a lot of exactly what it pulls. And if you're not playing something that's going to predict or tell you, or you have a deck that's generated completely around this card where you can't get a bad pull, and maybe that'll happen. But to me, this card just is the worst one, I think, of the month. It doesn't excite me at all. I get it that the thing is cool on it. The reveal is cool and everything. And a 0 is to get a card at 0 is fun, but if you misstep and you get something that is not, that you relied on, that you wanted the power on, like I said, you're not going to be a happy camper. So, okay, so that's my 1. That's my 6th. Agony is my 5. Scorn is my number 4. What she does is cool. I mean, she's very good for discard. She's going to be an excellent card for the discard genre. And it's always cool to see discard come back. When you discard this, return it to your hand and give it +2 power to itself and one of your cards in play. You could use this in Hella. I don't really see why you would, though, because you're playing out a curve. I mean, there's sometimes in Hella where you don't get to play. So, I mean, you could kind of do this. And then when you're discarding, if you do discard it, like let's say with a blade and you discard this, it comes back to your hand +2 power. And then if you have a smaller card out on the Hella lane, it'll give that the +2. Or I'm sorry, it gives it +2. Yeah, it'll give it the +2. But that's not where it's made for. You want to play this in the deck with Apocalypse and the Swarms and a MODOK. That's the basic discard deck is where you want to play this card. And Morbius, of course, and all that. And in that, there's really not a bad hit for it. You're going to give yourself maybe a Swarm that's going to be bigger that you could split. You're going to give yourself +2 to your Apocalypse. You're going to give yourself +2 to MODOK. All those cards that are in there that you could be playing, you're going to give them +2. So this is a good card for the discard genre. The reason I have her where I do is because I just don't know that the discard genre per se is going to ever be necessarily meta relevant. I don't see it hardly at all in all those games I'm playing on ladder over the weekend. So everything I was playing on Sunday all day long and everything I was playing on Saturday, I did not see one discard deck, not one. I saw some cards playing with like Black Bolt and Stature, or decks rather. I saw a lot of Hella. But I did not see any discard decks. So the question, I guess, then would be is, does this card take it to that level where it can compete with some of those decks? And while it is cool and everything, I don't necessarily think that it will do that. So at least in my opinion. So she's number 4. My number 3 is Misery. Misery is kind of cool. It's an Odin, right? It's a lower cost Odin, lower stat Odin. Repeat the unreveal abilities of your other cards here, then destroy them. The thing with this is the destroy kicker. A lot of people were thinking maybe you could use it in a destroy deck. You could, but the thing is you got to think of is like, what do you not want on the board? Like a destroy card that you don't necessarily want in destroy, right? I'm trying to think here. So maybe your Nico, right? Maybe your Nico doesn't matter. You don't mind destroying her and getting her ability again. But other than that, you're playing so much on curve in a destroy deck. Maybe if you're using a Forge in destroy, or maybe Aranya in destroy, and you don't care if you get rid of her. So in that respect, yes, maybe. But I think more so you're going to want some unrevealed cards that are going to do some things for you. But the problem that this card has is it's going to destroy the cards. So let's say you couldn't really do anything like with a Black Panther, right? Because you're going to destroy it. Yes, you'll double it, but you're going to destroy the card. So with that caveat, it's a cool card, and I'm sure somebody is going to find a way, or someone's going to find a way to make it work. It's just going to be something that's going to have to be thought on a little bit. But all that said, I think it's worth the number 3 card. I think it's just unique enough where it's going to be, it's going to create some new scenarios and some new decks and stuff like that. So, and then my number 1 card for the month is Scream. I went a little out of order, but my number 1 card of the month is Scream. I think, and I've played with this already. I made that offensive move deck, which is really fun. Let me see if I could just read it out to you really quickly. I have in that deck, the first iteration of it, I had Kingpin, Nightcrawler. I had Dagger and Vulture in it too. I had Dagger, Madam Web, Scream, Kraven, Vulture, Polaris, Spider-Man, Stegron, Arrow, and Magneto. I ended up taking out Vulture and Dagger because for those to play in this deck, you have to either move them with Magneto at the end of the game, which isn't really good, or you have to move them with Madam Web. But if you don't end up getting Madam Web out, they're kind of wasted cards. So I did change it to the iteration that I have now. And let me just pull that up real quickly. I don't have slides for it because I just made the deck today. But this is, I call it, it's basically Scream move. It is now Kingpin, Nightcrawler, Scream, Kraven, Juggernaut, Nocturne, Polaris, Spider-Man, Miles, Stegron, Arrow, Magneto. Miles, of course, just an easy 1/6. But it's pretty good. It's pretty cool. You know, the only thing with Scream you got to remember, and this is the thing, is that she steals the 2 power, but it's just the once per turn that she does it, right? So she's going to steal power away like Cassandra Nova does, but it's only the once per turn per move. So if you're moving a whole bunch of things all around, it's only going to do it once. But when it worked pretty well. You know, you set the Kraven down, you set the Kingpin down, and you just get it going, right? And if you get Scream down, you have Polaris who can pull stuff over to Kingpin. At the same time, it's going to get the hit from Scream. You have Spider-Man that can move a card himself over to like your Kraven lane. You have Stegron who could knock something into the Kingpin lane. Arrow can just move a whole bunch of stuff to the end. Juggernaut's going to move cards out of the lane. And Magneto, of course, is going to move everything. And then Nocturne, I just have in here to just maybe, you know, if you have a lane that's bad or something like that you can't get into, like a Doctor Strange or something that you can't, Sanctum Sanctorum that you can't get into, that you want to change. Or if someone does, you know, plays Limbo or something on you and you don't necessarily want the Limbo, you have a way out of it. So was doing okay on the ladder for a little bit. I got through like the mid 60s and stuff with it. I started in the 60s because I finished 95. So I started in the 60s. So yeah, it did okay for a little bit, but I'll get more into it in a little bit because I want to talk a lot about that during the meta report. So these are all the new cards, guys. It is Agent Venom season. We will talk more about him in Comics Corner. And I did forget that we needed to have 2 Comics Corners today because we needed Agent Venom and Scream. So I apologize. I don't have really any comic pictures or anything up on the slides tonight for Scream. I will go over the details about her during Comics Corner, but I don't have any slides to show you on it. So, but we will go over Agent Venom in a little bit. But they are all the new cards. They are the cards for this coming season. And let me go back really quickly again because I think I have. Yes, and these are all the Spotlight caches for this season. Now, these emotes are amazing, by the way, and they are going to be awful expensive. The new one is out already. It's called Venomized Vibes. That came out today, and I literally have one card. And I have the Man Thing, and that was a super rare, the Venomized variant Man Thing that came out right when he first came out, and that's the only one I have. I don't have. I know some people have the Spider Ham. I don't have that one, but a lot of these are new. Quicksilver has been in, and they're all of these are in the shop right now. Most of them are in the shop, and they are. Some people have the Hellcow as well, so some of you might have more than I do. But if you want to get that crying, drooling Venom emote, you have to fill this one in. All of the ones that are in the shop are 1,200 gold. So they are expensive cards to get. And so if you want that completion, you have to shell out a lot of gold. And gold is quite precious right now in the game. The same goes for, and I was told this last night by Nick on the stream I did last night. The Here's Johnny Carnage, which is amazing. That's an amazing emote. But that one up there, that album is a Peach Momoko album, and more than likely they're all going to be 1,200 gold variants to get that. And so again, very, very difficult to get those variants. Because they are very, very expensive variants. So, it's kind of a shame, right? Like it is a lot. And if you're looking forward to trying to get them, it's going to cost you a lot of gold. It's called Dream or Nightmare. But they are Peach Momoko variants, and that's another album that's going to be coming up. So chances are I'm probably not going to have any of those, or maybe 1 or 2, if any. I know the one time Peach came out, they had another Peach album that came out that I had none. I had literally none of the cards. So Yeah, so it's kind of a bummer. The ones on the right and the left on the bottom, now these are probably just Carnages and Venoms. So most of us will probably be able to get these. And those little reactions are cool and everything like that. I don't use them at all, really. I always kind of forget about them, to be honest. I don't really look at other people's cards in a game. When I do, it's usually at the end of the game or something. And then usually when I want to react to one of the variants or something, I can't find them to pull them up, or I don't have the right ones set. So while reactions are neat and everything like that, it's like, but most of us, I think, will probably be able to complete those 2 albums and get the reactions. But I would have rather had the 2 emotes. I would have rather had that backwards. But of course, they're going to want you to pay a little bit more for the cool emotes. So anyway, today's Spotlight caches were Man-Thing, Mobius, and Scream. Now, I was kind of overdue. I had been getting the new card on 1 key. So I got 2 weeks ago, I got it on 1 key. Last week I got it on 2. So I was due to hit the 4 keys, right? The four keys of Snap, and I did. It was a 4 key week for me. First pull was, and I knew right off the bat it was going to be bad because I pulled the card that I already had, and I got the tokens for it. And then I'm like, yep, it's going to be a 4 key week, and it was. I don't mind because I wanted the Man-Thing variant anyway. And here, let me show you real quick. It is amazing. Let's see if you can see it. No, you're not going to see it because of the green screen. Bummer. It is awesome. It's very, very cool looking Man-Thing. And I did share it on Twitter. I have a really cool Man-Thing split. And so I'm always able to use that green, the green border that goes around the green, the one with the dots and stuff like that. But it's a really, really cool card. And so I was happy to get that. And then, of course, Mobius, not a bad pull. I don't really have many variants for him. I think I only have the Dan Hip variant for Mobius. So this is really just my second one. So yeah, not bad. And, obviously, if you're going for Scream, you're going to want to do this anyway. Next week's is Misery, and then that comes with War Machine and Namora. Now, Namora, I know a lot of people probably missed her when she first came out because it was kind of touted as like the worst card of the month, and don't get it. It's not great. But then people found out it was pretty good. It was better than what a lot of people thought it was going to be. And so a lot of people are kind of regretting they didn't get it, and now you will be able to. So Namora, I'm sure a lot of people might be shooting for if you're going to be going for Misery anyway. And then, of course, War Machine in there. And we all know what the War Machine stuff is, the lockdown and all that kind of stuff with War Machine. A lot of people still playing that, even though they got the little nerf and all that in there, which, by the way, did nothing. So yeah, not a bad one either there if you need Namora. Third one of the week. This one's a little iffy to me. Scorn, obviously, if you like this card, but the other 2 cards, Jean Grey, very seldom ever played in this game unless you happen to be playing one of those ongoing lists. And even then, she's not played in a lot of those sometimes. Sebastian Shaw, I think most people have him. At least I know all the people I play that have Silver Surfer in their decks already probably have him anyway. So, maybe you're new to the game and maybe you're a newer player and would like to maybe play Surfer. That's really the only deck he sees play in. So that is October 15th. Then you got the 22nd. Now this one is very bad. Elsa's not seeing play at all. No play. And Zabu is terrible. Zabu I was using in the TLSG Galactus deck, and that's the first time I've seen him played in forever. And the only reason he's in there is to get you a play on Wiccan on turn 3. That's really the only reason that the card is in there. Hopefully, maybe they will do something to this before it comes out. They were saying they were going to change him, and maybe that's what they're thinking of doing is before it releases is maybe they'll change Zabu. Maybe they'll make him an activate. A lot of people were guessing that. I don't know. But people are definitely wanting Toxin, so they're going to be pulling for this card, and they're going to get 2 variants that really, really aren't that hot, especially right now in the game. So smart of Second Dinner, I guess, to do that, right? They put the strongest card of the month with probably the weakest variant bunch. They've done that before. And then last week is October 29th, of course, and that is Anti-Venom in with Ghost Spider, Phoenix Force or regular standard move, and then Supergiant, which, again, is really not played. So The last month looks to be kind of a skippable one. The last week looks to be like a skippable one to me. If, especially, you know, going into November, then the next one with the Thors and everything that's coming out in the new season, that looks like a skippable week to me. I have Supergiant. I don't even own a single variant of Supergiant, and that's really rare when I don't have a variant of a card. But no, I'm sorry, I do. I did get the Spotlight variant for her, but I again, another card that just doesn't see play. And, you know, we talked about this on the pod last night with Nick, and, I think he's right. People just, I don't think really have figured this card out. It's kind of confusing to use, and you're not really sure what's going to come first and what's not and stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why she doesn't see play. It's not a bad card by any means, and what it does, I mean, it could shut down a lot of things. That card can single-handedly shut down unrevealed decks. Like, if you play that card and Destroy wants to do their big things at the end of the game, nope, you can't. Same thing for like Wong and Unreveal and all that kind of stuff. Nope, you can't. So, but yeah, that one to me, I think is the most skippable week, maybe along with Scorn. If you're not a Discord player or discard player are the 2 weeks you would probably maybe look at skipping in this because of the cards that they're with. And Anti-Venom, like I said, I really don't think he's that great of a card. We'll see. Maybe someone will come up with something good for it, but we'll see. Okay, I think that's the end of my starting segment here. I know we started a little bit different, but I wanted to go over the new cards and stuff like that. So let's go into it, shall we? And we're going to go into my week in Snap and the meta report. So, all right, so let's get into it, and we will go through and get into all that. So we'll get into decks first. So the first one, and I was so happy to see this, anytime I could get a Galactus deck that's actually pretty good and I can play it, I'm a happy man. And I did, at least for a day or two. This is TLSG, so shout out to him. Came up with this list. Very clever. Quicksilver, Psylocke, Jeff, Zabu. And you're wondering, why Quicksilver? Why Zabu? Well, they're in there because of Wiccan. That's the whole reason. Those first 4 cards, maybe the exception of Jeff, are in there because of Wiccan. Your whole thing here is to get out the cards on every turn that you can. So you want the 1s, you want the 2, you want the 3. You got Goblin in there and Wave. And then you get Wiccan out and you can go nuts. You can put the Goblins down. You can put Galactus. You can play Galactus on turn 5. And then you got Goliath and Red Hulk to follow it up. So it's just good. You can put Spider-Man down, Symbiote Spider-Man instead. Play the big Galactus with Symbiote Spider-Man with all your Wiccan energy. It was fun. It was fun while it lasted. I played it I was at 93. I played it up to 96 on Saturday night. And then I stopped. And so I got 3 levels, and I was very close to 97. And I'm like, yeah, I have Sunday off. I'll just come back to it. I'll play it again on Sunday. And I did. And I had all day Sunday off. I was just kind of chilling. It was my last day vacation. I was chilling and watching football. And so but I had it all, all set to go. I had, a drink there, not alcoholic, but, I had a drink with me, and I was, snacking and stuff like that. And I'm watching football and I'm playing Snap. I'm like, okay, it'd be a good day, right? No, absolute. What happened was, and I realized this when I watched KM Best's best decks video of the week. He had this deck. I was waiting to see if he had it on his list, because he even did a video on this, which I was kind of surprised because he hates Galactus. But he had it on the list, but it was way, way down at the bottom of his list. And then he comes out and says, it's too easy to figure out. And it is. I think that's essentially what happened. I think by, the prior night when I was playing still on Saturday night, I think it was kind of new, was only a day or so old. And I think people just haven't really figured it out yet or didn't come across it as much. But once they see you put that Quicksilver out, you're already playing against Galactus. You know that that's what it is, because no one really plays Quicksilver unless it's Arishem. And if they're playing Arishem, what their deck size is. So yeah, the next day I couldn't win anything with it. I went from 96 where I was all the way down to 92 before I just gave up. I hate switching decks because it just takes all the momentum away, and I didn't want to give up on it. There was a moment there where I was back at like 92, 93, and I was starting to win a little bit again. I'd won a few games, but I'd win a few, then I'd lose 2. I'd win 2, I'd lose 3. Then I'd win 1, and I'd lose 2. Then And I was like, yeah, no, it's just, it wasn't working anymore. And it's again, it's too easy to spot. It's very easy to stop with Clog, which, oh boy, that's a whole nother topic. I haven't gone on a rant on this show for a little bit. I used to rant a lot on the audio one. Let me rant on something really quickly. And I mean, no offense to the players who enjoy playing these types of deck whatsoever. Lockdown and Clog are awful. Awful. They're just awful. I would be surprised. If I'm already shocked at one point. Well, let's just say this. The OTA that we had was very underwhelming. And all the creators are saying the same thing. Very underwhelming. They didn't do really anything to the cards at all. It was just a point of power here, point of power there, lose a point here, lose a point there, which did nothing. It did nothing. Let's face it. Hella did nothing because it made no sense in a lot of ways because the Hella decks were using Luke Cage anyway. I was playing Hella and I had Luke Cage in my deck. So who cares if you take it down to 3 to a -3? It doesn't matter, which is what a lot of these were. The point of power to Galactus, again, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's a 1 point. It's still a 6. You're still going to be able to stop him with so many cards. So it really just, a lot of it didn't matter. And the nerf to War Machine, again, didn't matter. And I'm really kind of surprised that they haven't looked at that particular deck because they've already made it very clear that they don't like it when you can't play cards. They don't like decks that do not allow you to play your cards. And that's what that deck does, where it'll lock you out of the game and you just can't play on turn 6. So very overbearing, and it's, but I know a lot of people are playing it, and you're smart to play it. It's a strong deck. Legion is in it many times. You're messing the lanes up with Legion, and you're able to play cards down that your opponent cannot. A lot of them are playing Goose in the deck, where then again, they're going to be able to play in the Goose lane and you can't. So it's a lot of restriction. Clog is just really, really gross right now. It's just, I ran across so much Clog, not only just with this, but with almost any deck I was playing. If you don't have something to counter it, where now someone turned me on to another deck that I'll show you in a little bit, but if you don't have something to counter that Clog in your deck, whether it be something to destroy it, like Carnage, I'll say this. I was also seeing a good amount of destroy when I was in the high 90s, which is kind of crazy. Like, that is not something you normally see up there. Now I know why. They were playing it because they knew that the Clog was so prevalent. And that's, again, smart play on their part to do because you are able to destroy all of the stuff that's clogging up your lanes. And so, to me, I think both of those decks need to be looked at. I don't know the numbers. I don't look at deck numbers or anything like that like other people do. Maybe I should. I don't look at them, but I know what I've seen, and I saw a ton of Clog. And that's the one where they're sending over goblins. They're using their Viper to send over rocks. They're using debris. They're using, I wasn't even seeing, they weren't even playing the hazmat version with Ajax. None of that. They were just strictly flat out just clogging your lanes. I remember going and trying to play a zoo. Forget that. They're clogging you out in the first 2-3 turns. Your lanes are full. So I think those two decks in particular, I think need something. They need something to happen, I think, to both of those decks because they are really, really just obnoxious. And even today, when I got into the 60s, when I was back in the 60s playing, again, like the first 2 or 3 games I played, Clog. And I know that the whole mantra behind it, people will say, well, yeah, if you can't beat it, join it. I can't play that deck. It's not fun to me. There's certain decks in this game that are just really not fun to me. Certain ones I'm not smart enough to play. I openly admit that. That is move and bounce. I just don't have the brain power to play them. But certain other decks are just, they just aren't fun to me. I don't think it's fun to do that to the other player. And I don't know, maybe I just have a completely different outlook on this than other players do. even back to my Magic days, and there were plenty of decks in Magic where you could completely lock out your opponent. One of my best friends that used to play Magic with us, he played a Magic deck with a card called Stasis. And basically what that card did was every time you tapped the card to attack and you played Stasis, you couldn't untap any of your cards. So you're not allowed to untap and then start over and re-attack with those same creatures. You just can't. Everything's locked down. And then he had something where he could keep making that card turn off and turn on so that he would be able to play, but you couldn't. Horrible, horrible. And I hated the blue-white genre in Magic the Gathering because it did just that. There's another white-blue player that I played in a tournament that used to play with a card called Moat. The Moat card, if you had it in play, was an enchantment. None of your creatures could attack. They would beat you with a card called a Millstone to make your hand full. They would fill up your hand, and then you took points of damage, and then they would run you. I'm sorry, the Millstone would run you out of cards. So it would run you out of your deck, and they would make your whole deck would be gone, and you lose the game. So it's a different way to win. But I never got into any of that. I never liked any of that. I wasn't a lockdown guy. I just didn't. I know many people played it. It was successful for them. I'm just not a lockdown player, and I can't play those decks, and I detest playing against them. And I know, like, you can look at it and be like, but you play Galactus. That could be the most busted card of all of them. And you know, you want to talk about obnoxious, man. It blows up the other two lanes. Touche. Touche. I get it. But man, I just think those two decks, that Clog and that War Machine deck, are just really, really obnoxious. You're locked out. You can't play anything. And see, to me as a player, that's not fun. That's not fun. You know, my Galactus thing, yes, that's fun to me. I don't know. I think the Galactus thing to me more so than anything is just because I just like the character. I just like the character, and I like watching things blow up and watching him blow up the locations. I think that's really what it is to me. But I'm not a lockdown guy. I don't like seeing. I don't know. Maybe I don't like seeing other players suffer. Maybe that's what it is. But I know a lot of people enjoy that, and enough that I saw a lot of it, and I'm sure I'll continue to see a lot of it until something is done to maybe make it a little less powerful. But anyway, all right, that's my rant. Next up, we have this one. Now, someone showed me this deck, and I think this is a rendition of I've seen this around. I know that there's a lot of streamers, I think, that have done this or a variation thereof. Yeah, I've seen this around. A lot of content creators have played with this one. It is basically Darkhawk and a combination of Black Bolt and Stature. But it is nice, and it is good against Clog because you have the Viper in there that can shoot something back over to your opponent. You have the discard capability of Moon Knight to get rid of some of that stuff. You have Black Bolt, who's also going to discard some of their cards. Cassandra Nova is going to make them weaker by stealing energy off of some of those cards. You have a Nico, which can make another demon along with your Hood, so you can put a bunch of demons out. So even if they are clogging you, you have power in those lanes that it's not going to matter as much. But this deck is pretty good. This deck is pretty good. If I would have had this, because when I was playing it yesterday and today, when I found out about it, I started to climb again. I went from 93 up to 94 up to 95 with this deck. So this is a really good deck. Let me go back because I always forget my poor audio people. The TLSG Galactus is Quicksilver, Psylocke, Jeff, Zabu, Green Goblin, Wave, Symbiote Spider-Man, Wiccan, Hobgoblin, Galactus, Alioth, and Red Hulk. So that is that list. And this one, the Darkhawk list, is the Hood, Spider-Ham. He's very disruptive, too, against those Clog decks because he might take away a card that they want to use to clog you, like a Goblin or something like that they then can't use. Korg, Nico, Cassandra, Nova, Moon Knight, Rock Slide. So you're pushing those rocks into their deck, so they're not going to get those draws that they need to get sometimes because they're going to have those extra 3 rocks in there. Viper, Proxima, Midnight. That's the card for your Moon Knight. That's the only card that can be discarded here by Moon Knight in your hand because he discards even cards. So it's going to take out a card from your opponent, but the only thing it can hit in your hand is Proxima, and that's a good thing. Darkhawk is in here, and then, of course, Black Bolt and Stature. This is good against Clog. It's also very good against Arshem, because they can't take that double shot of Cassandra Nova and Dark Hawk that are just going to be huge, huge. So this deck's very, very good against Arshem. So, okay. Next up, Hela. I told you I was playing Hela. This is Blade, Luke Cage, Lady Sif, Jubilee, Hellcow, Black Cat, Blink, Hela, Red Hulk, Magneto, Infinite, and Death. You do have to have the Luke Cage in there now. It's a must-have. If you don't get them, it's a lot of power that your cards are going to lose. You're going to bring a Black Cat back out as a 7 for 7. You're going to bring a Magneto out as a 9. So it's a lot of power you're going to lose here if you don't do it that way. And so, yeah. But it's still, the deck's still good. They get the Luke Cage out. It's still very good. It's still going to outpower you with a lot of those big power cards. The Red Hulk might continue to go off. The 20-point Infinite, the 12-point Death, the 10-power Black Cat, just a lot of power. And the Hellcow, broken, and this deck can just discard those other 2 cards in your hand when you have the Hela. So Hela is still very good. Here we go. This is the culprit. At least this is one of them I've seen. Now, this isn't, no, I'm sorry. This is not the one I was really playing against much. This is a version of Clog, but this is one I have seen, but this is not the popular one. This one is the Hood, Silver Sable, Hazmat. Now, this is the one that has Hazmat, Ajax. Shadow King is in this to help you win in lanes. U.S. Agent, Rogue, and Cosmo is in here. Debris, Viper, Man-Thing's in here. Man-Thing can sometimes just take out a lane. Annihilus and Ajax. So Annihilus is to help against other Clog decks. If you're, so this is kind of a Clog deck, but it's an anti-Clog deck where you're going to be able to bounce back all the crap that they sent over to you with the Annihilus. So, but this is another one that I saw while playing on ladder. Zoo is still good. And again, another nerf that didn't do anything is the Marvel Boy nerf. It means nothing. He's in there to just, give your cards that 1-point bonus. It doesn't matter if he's a 1. It has no bearing on anything. And Zoo is still really good. This particular list has Ant-Man, Silver Sable, Squirrel Girl, Dazzler, Kate Bishop, Marvel Boy, Kyera, Shauna, Kazar, Blue Marvel, Gilgamesh, and Mockingbird. I subbed in the Kyera. Some decks with this are playing Cosmo. I subbed in Kyera because I just think it's too important not to have all those ones destroyed by anything, although you're not seeing a whole bunch of Killmonger in the meta. So, yeah. But Zoo is still very good. I've still seen that in a lot of places, too, when I was playing up on that end of the ladder. This one is the lockdown deck I was talking to you guys about, and this is the War Machine list. So this has Nightcrawler, Squirrel Girl. This is just one of them. Hydra Bob, Ebony Maw, Jeff, Marvel Boy. Marvel Boy is going to pop off on all these 1 cards that are up here. So Nightcrawler, Squirrel Girl, Hydra Bob, and Ebony Maw. Jeff and Nightcrawler can just move around. Storm, you're going to storm the lane. Then you're going to play the War Machine. Then you're going to be able to play in that lane. And then you have Legion, where you could do that whole Storm Legion play and just shut them off completely where they can't do anything. Makari's going to bounce out of your hand. Then Claw, which just makes the lanes bigger, and Eliath and Legion. So Nightcrawler, Squirrel Girl, Hydra Bob, Ebony Maw, Jeff, Marvel Boy, Storm, Makari, War Machine, Claw, Legion, and Eliath. So it's just one of those examples out there of that Legion War Machine lockdown thing. So, and all right. Okay. So they're pretty much some of the decks I've seen and some of the decks that I've used over the past few days. So the meta report, I finished at 95 last month. So I did get up into the 90s. I was sitting on 60 for like ever. And then I did decide to get my butt in gear, and I did get up to the 90s. So I made it back where I was pretty much the previous 2 months. And I started off at 60 this month. So back where I was again, back where you started. Here we go round again. If anyone knows who sang that, tell me in the comments. It's an old band. I will say that, but look, I'm old. So, all right, moving on to my variants. These are some of the variants that I picked up during the course of the week. Sabretooth. He looks cool. I like the classic outfit, but he looks very joyous, doesn't he? He's happy Sabretooth. This is Sabretooth after he beat up Wolverine. He's jumping for joy. He's very, very happy. He's a happy dude. And normally Sabretooth has nothing but a scowl on his face all the time. He's always pissed. but he's Happy Tooth, right? Happy Sabretooth. So yeah, cool card though. I kind of like it. I like the old costume. I like his yellow and brown costume from the comics. X-23. This is a cool one. I like the art in this. It's very cartoony. It's very anime, maybe-esque, I think, if you maybe want to describe her that way. Very realistic looking, though, like with the skin tones and with the hair and everything like that and all that. But I like it. I dig it. I think it's cool. I like the scenery in the back. I like the clouds and everything. I like the look of this card. So she is now my permanent X-23. I dig it. I like it. It's very, very cool. I enjoy it. Black Bolt, and this is the 3099 version of Black Bolt, so the future Black Bolt. Kind of cool. When it splits, it has all that, the sound and sonics coming out of his mouth and stuff like that. So all these cards, though, if you notice, they're all in armor, and they all look like they're buff. They all look like they're the Hulk-sized characters. They're very big. They're all very big characters because they got that 3099 armor on. But, yep. So, oh, man. Another comic book. This is, of course, Destroyer from the Mighty Thor, the issue of the Mighty Thor. You guys know how much I love all these. These are tremendous variants, and I most of the time make these my variants of choice, and I will do the same with Destroyer. I will have that on, I think, I may be wrong, but I think this is the first episode or the first book with Destroyer in it. I could be wrong there, but I think it is. I think this is the first issue with Destroyer in the book. So that is the first look of Destroyer. And you can see, like people are saying, why is he blue? Well, he's blue because a lot of times in the comics way back when they would do characters that were supposed to be like metallic or silver, they would make them blue colored because they just didn't have the means to make them white or that metallic silver that you see now. So that was part of the reason. He does look like a silver base, but that old style silver from like years ago when you get a silver crayon, it was kind of almost like gray-ish. And that's kind of what he looks like here. So I think this book is pretty old, and I think it is his first appearance. I'm not sure, but I think it is. They usually do that with the comic book things. So, okay. This Miles, of course, this is a tribute to the Todd McFarlane cover, which we already have in the game, by the way. The Todd McFarlane cover of the Black Suit Spider-Man, which I found always kind of weird because, you know, he's not the symbiote Spider-Man in the game. He's just regular Spider-Man. But this is a very iconic cover that Todd McFarlane drew with all the webbing in the background and stuff like that. And I'm sure that the artist that did this Miles was tributizing that same pose and everything like that too. So really cool. This one came from an album, and I was able to complete the album right off the bat. I think it might have been one. I've only done like maybe one or two with that right off the bat like that. But I was able to complete the album, and I got this Miles card. So it's very cool. And I got the Miles or the armor, the spider armor, the armored Spider-Man reactions from the album as well. It was weird though, because I didn't have a lot of the regular variants that they wanted you to complete the album. I had all the added ones, but it still allowed me to complete it because I got the whole completion of the added ones to the list. So yeah, so another new Miles, pretty cool. And then Taskmaster Dan Hip. Taskmaster, I like my Dan Hips. He uses such cool colors. And of course, this is original Taskmaster with the orange shield and the orange on his armor and stuff like that. So this is with the swashbuckler boots, the pirate costume and stuff like that, right? This is original Task done by Dan Hip, and I like it. I like Dan Hip stuff. Oh, and then this is the Scarlet Spider variant. This one is literally, he's on fire, but it's literally fire. This is a really cool variant. I like this a lot. Very, very cool. I love the shapes of the legs and stuff like that are very 90s looking to me. The very bony leg attributes, the feet kind of and stuff like that. They're very 90s. This is very, very 90s kind of artwork. And I dig it. So this is very cool. I like the variant for Scarlet Spider. All right. Okay. So they're my variants. The bundles, I'm going to probably just skip because honestly, you can see them up here on the page. But I went through so many of October's already that, we went over these, I think, last week. You know the meme I could see here with Baron Zemo, the Mighty Have Fallen with Gamora. I went over a lot of these already up to the Galactus down here at the bottom. So I covered all of these. These are all October's variants. There's a Void Claw Vengeance one on the bottom, and then an October Mystery down on the bottom too. But I've already covered all these. So once they start data mining the new stuff, which should be pretty soon, usually that happens when the new cards come out, then I'll have the November ones, and I'll go over those. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these because it's kind of just be rehashing what we already did. So, okay. All right, let's move past this. And it's time for my weekly top 5. The weekly top 5, guys. This one is from some people have given me some ideas for these. This one is from Snap Variants, who shares variants and stuff on his Twitter all the time. A lot of you may have even had variants shared by him. He's been on my show, so you can check out that episode a little bit back. But he suggested this one for me, and this one is favorite variants you never get to play. So favorite variants you never get to play. So my top 5 favorite variants you never get to play. I have to fix this. I keep forgetting to fix this slide with best pixel variants. But yeah, that's 2 weeks ago. Get on the ball. All right. Number 5. Man, I tried so hard to get this inked when this came out, and when not when it came out, but when Cap kind of came back to prominence, I was not playing Captain America at all. When they gave him that first little buff, I went through and I got this one inked. I had to. This one with the almost looks like an old style TV screen, and when this is split, you even see like little crackles in the back of it. Crackle's not a right word, like little screen pops. You see in the back, like little lines going through the screen. So it's like you're watching old style black and white TV. I love this variant. And Cap just is still not great. He's still not great. And I don't know if he's ever going to be great or ever going to be played, or they're ever going to change him to the point of where he's at least respectable. I don't know. Maybe when we get that Cap Shield card, whatever that is, maybe it will become a little bit better. I don't know. But he's still kind of meh. And so I don't play him that much. And sometimes in those ongoing deck lists and stuff like that, you'll see him get played. But I love this variant. One of my favorites in the game. One of the first ones I think I've gotten actually too in the game as I was going up the through season 1 and season 2. It was one of the first variants I owned. So, oh man, this beauty of a Human Torch. What amazing artwork. In fact, I have another one by this in the same bundle. There were 2 cards in a bundle. It was this and Doctor Strange, and both of them are amazing. Amazing artwork. This is phenomenal. You see Johnny like in the process of just turning into Human Torch, because you can see like in the middle here, a little bit of his blue costume here. So this is him just changing into Human Torch. This is just beautiful, man. What a beautiful piece of art. This could hang up as a picture somewhere. This is so good, man. Johnny's always been one of my favorite characters. I'm so excited for the Fantastic Four. I love the Human Torch in the book. He was my favorite member of the Fantastic Four. And so I really wish I could play him more, but I just don't play Move. And so I don't get to play the card very often. So it's not something I'll come across much. But this is just amazing. Even the red eyes, man. Like, oh, God, every detail about this. The Fantastic Four symbol, him catching on fire at certain places. In certain places he's not. This is beautiful, just beautiful. So that's my number 4. Number 3, good old Howard the Duck with the Infinity Gauntlet. Could you imagine? This is from a book. This is right out of the comic book. And this is a what if book, actually. What if Howard the Duck got the Infinity Gauntlet? I never read it. I have to find it because I need to read it because this seems absolutely outrageous. You can see he's standing on top of a bloodied Adam Warlock. But Howard wielding the power of Thanos, and it's such a cool variant. It's my favorite Howard the Duck. This is why I don't need to get any more Howard variants, because this is kind of the end all and be all of Howard the Duck for me. I love this variant, and so yeah, I don't need to get any more. I know that one's going to be voted for, and this is the one I'm going to always use because it's just, you really can't top this. So, but yeah, so that is my number 3 because I never play him. I just don't play. There was a time about 3 months ago where I was playing Tribunal, and I had him in there. That was the only time I could ever remember playing Howard the Duck. And again, he could also be used in the ongoing list as well. Some people play him in those. This is the one that was in the bundle with Human Torch. Oh my God. Jeez. This is phenomenal artwork. Like, just phenomenal. You could see his hand through the little thing, the magic and stuff, the pink surrounding his hand, and parts of his the cape and stuff like that underneath that. These are just gorgeous, man. He could be the Stephen Strange from the MCU. He looks so. I mean, the mustache is a little wider up here, and the goatee. But oh my gosh, every little detail in this, the window in back of him, the hair and stuff like that, the cape, just absolutely phenomenal. And there's another card. You could sense it, right? See, I don't play Move, so I'm never going to play him either. Doctor Strange, to me, I think needs to get changed. I think he should have a better set of power rather than just move a card through a portal. He does so much more than that. He's such a powerful being in the MCU. I think he should be more powerful in the game. I really, really do. But I don't think they'll ever change him. And then the number one. Now I'm going to start to maybe play this a little bit, because that new move that offensive move deck that I made now has Spider-Man, so I can kind of dust this off and take it out. This is that McFarlane cover I just showed you the Miles tribute of. So this is the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man cover. This is right from a comic book, and this is just absolutely amazing artwork by Todd McFarlane. I loved his Spider-Man. The way he drew webs and stuff like that was awesome. And this is, of course, when I got this inked, I was thrilled because it just looks so cool inked again. It's a comic book cover, and it looks amazing. Todd always drew stuff with really big eyes, even Spawn, and a lot of Spawn covers and stuff that he did, just gigantic eyes on the mask and stuff like that. But yeah, but this is my number one, and I wasn't really playing Spider-Man at all. And I had said on a previous podcast that I think this is another card they need to look into, because he's such a good card. He should, I think, do better than what he does. But he's relegated to just that move a card. And, you know, it is what it is. I think he deserves kind of a bit better of a power, though, than just moving a card around. But yeah. So in any case, that is my number one. So number one, Spider-Man. Number two, Doctor Strange. Number three, Howard the Duck. Number four, Human Torch. And number five, Captain America. Cards that I unfortunately do not get to play or use. And thank you to Snap Variants for the suggestion for this week's top five. Okay. It's that time, guys. It is that time. It is time to visit the Comics Corner. And we are heading over to the Comics Corner. And this week, the Comics Corner is all about anti-venom. Agent Venom. Agent Venom. So we're going to get started with this, and this is going to be the origin story of Agent Venom. And you can't start talking about Agent Venom without talking about the fact that everybody had a bully, right? You know, as growing up, and I had one when I was a kid. Maybe the kids today, you're not seeing that as much anymore. When I was a kid, I had my bully, right? I had the bully, the one who always would tease me, the one who would always do things to me on the school bus and, make my life hell for a little bit. But everyone kind of had their bullies and stuff when they were growing up. Well, Peter Parker was no different. And this little strip here is right out of the very first issue. Amazing Fantasy of Spider-Man. So this is the origin story of Spider-Man, and this is what the artwork looked like from back in the 60s when they did this book. And amazing panel here, and you could see Peter just going up to this girl named Sally, kind of geeky Parker, right, with the science nerd, the glasses and everything like that, going up and trying to ask this girl out. Sally, I was wondering if you were busy tonight for the upteenth time. You're just not my type. Not when dreamboats like Flash Thompson are around. And this is, I admire your good taste, doll. Get lost, bookworm. And that's what they used to call nerds back in the day. And you can see Flash Thompson just shoving Peter out of the way, and Peter goes flying, and his books go falling all over the place. Flash Thompson was a jerk. He was an absolute jerk and a thorn in Peter Parker's side for a long time that I was reading Spider-Man. Until he wasn't. And they kind of ended up, as sometimes I guess does happen in these kinds of stories where you have a bully who's bullying somebody around. And it turns out that they were doing it for whatever reasons, maybe out of jealousy or maybe whatever. They were just nasty because they had a bad home life. Who knew? But they ended up turning out when they got into their like college ages, like, after high school, and they both went to college and they were in college, they ended up getting to be kind of friends. And again, you never would have really saw that coming. And even in the Spider-Man movies, right? Tobey Maguire's movie, Flash Thompson bullying that too. And he actually hit him when he got his spider powers in that first movie. So Flash was in that and in his bully glory, trying to bully him. And he was dating Mary Jane at the time. So in most iterations of him, this is what you see, this obnoxious dude who's just a complete jerk. Well, he turned his life around and he ended up going to college, like I said, with Peter. And then he ended up going into the military. Now, he served actually 2 tours of duty in the military, but he was injured in his second tour of duty. I think that he was in Iran, serving somewhere in Iran. If I'm going to go and I'm going to look at my notes a little bit here too, so don't mind me because I'm an old man and I forget things sometimes. But let's see. So yeah, so they're going over. They both went to Middletown High School where he bullied Peter daily. The bullying continued for a long time, even after Peter gained his spider powers. And of course, never used them against Flash, even when tempted to. The only exception was a boxing match between the two in the school gym, where Peter evaded Flash's punches with his reflexes and knocked him out with a single punch. However, this was passed off as an accident, and any suspicion of Parker being Spider-Man was moved onto Flash himself. People were thinking he was Spider-Man, due to events involving the living brain. This is another villain of Spider-Man, this big robot. After this, Flash stopped his physical abuse, although he continued to taunt Peter. Flash's wide circle of friends included Brian Tiny McKeever, Jason Lonello, Seymour O'Reilly, Charlie, and numerous female admirers such as Sally, who you saw in that panel, and Liz Allen. The latter was Flash's steady girlfriend for some time. Flash was Midtown High's star quarterback, where his speed on the football field earned him the lifelong nickname Flash. That's where he got the name from. This gained him popularity and respect, but he still remained jealous of Peter's book smarts. Ironically, Flash became an ardent supporter of Spider-Man. Yeah, that was another. And you see him in the Tom Holland films. He has a Flash too, right? But his Flash is kind of the same way. He's kind of a bully, but then he ends up being like this big, humongous fan of Spider-Man. So he loved, and it's just an ironic thing because he hates Peter, but he loved his alter ego, which was just crazy. And Peter, it was like Peter loved it because he admired Spider-Man so much. He even formed a Spider-Man fan club while still in high school and invited everyone except Peter to join and scared away Daily Bugle staffers when they tried to interview people about their reasons for hating Spider-Man. Flash once tried to play a trick on Peter by dressing in a Spider-Man costume and attempting to frighten him before Flash could surprise Peter. He was abducted by Dr. Doom, who mistakenly believed he was the real Spider-Man. Peter was forced to save him, his own worst rival. He dressed up as Spider-Man again to redeem his hero, who was seen as a coward after having run for a confrontation with the Green Goblin. Flash confronted 3 car thieves, hoping to draw out the real Spider-Man, but was beaten up by the 3 thugs. Not very intelligent. When Flash's girlfriend Liz became attracted to Peter and started snubbing him, calling him a muscle-bound goop, G-O-O-P. This only made Flash hate Peter more. He threatened Peter not to hang around with Liz too much, but when Peter got into trouble with the school principal, Mr. Davis, over their fight, Flash took responsibility for the incident. He still continued to pursue Liz, though she made it clear she wanted nothing to do with him. Then he went to Empire State University. Like I said, he met Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy there. So, and again, he grew out of the bullying thing and he got to know these other people that were in Peter Parker's circle. And so he kind of grew out of the bullying phase and stuff like that. And I have to adjust my green screen. Give me a minute. I changed the lighting. There we go. My face is back. Like it or not. Yeah. So, and then he goes to the Army. So the first time he joined the Army, him and Peter parted as friends. During his tour of duty, he was stationed in Southeast Asia, where he stumbled across a hidden temple whose residents, notably the beautiful Sha Shan, nursed a wounded Flash back to health. However, the American forces mistakenly shelled the temple. Despite Flash's efforts to protect it, Flash left the Army to return to America, where temple survivors who mistakenly blamed him for the tragedy made attempts on his life. With the aid of Spider-Man, lived to convince the temple survivors of his innocence and was briefly reunited with Sha Shan. Returned to civilian life then after that. And then, of course, this picture here, he returned to the battlefield in the war in Iraq and lost his legs after saving his partner from enemy forces. Flash's sacrifice is enough to earn him a recommendation for the Medal of Honor. He returned to the United States and started dating Betty Brant. So it's another person who, ironically, Peter had dated very, very long ago. In fact, she was the one Peter had a crush on right off the bat in the comic books. When he went to the Daily Bugle, when he went to work for the Daily Bugle, she was the secretary there, and he had a crush on her. So Flash ended up with Betty after all that. And then Flash went through stages of grief afterwards, kind of backwards, even so far as to use dangerous experimental procedures to regain his legs, but seemed to come to terms with the condition, the support of his friends, family, and new rehab trainer, Shaw Shalin. So he came to grips with everything, very realistic story, as you would imagine. Someone would lose their legs and would do anything they could do to get them back. This is now where he becomes Agent Venom. So Flash became the new Venom when he was enlisted as part of a Project Rebirth 2.0. Flash was bonded with the symbiote, recently acquired by the U.S. government after Mac Gargan. So the symbiote goes from Eddie Brock to Mac Gargan, who's the Scorpion. And then he ends up becoming Venom. So Venom, this is all of this stuff. And the stuff with the symbiotes and stuff like that this month is very confusing because it all comes and it stems from Venom. All of it does. And it's because all of this stuff just got split up all over the place. Carnage stems from Venom. Like all of that stuff just stems from Venom. So the Mac Gargan Scorpion, so bonded with him so Mac was arrested after the siege of Asgard. While bonded, Flash was able to reproduce his legs and had powers comparable to Spider-Man. Thompson was sent to the Eastern European country Novrovac. Oh my God, it's a made up name, Norosvetkistan, to recover Dr. Ekmenchik, a specialist in developing weapons made from the Antarctic vibranium. During his mission, he encountered the new Jack-o'-lantern, not in the game yet, who was also trying to recover the Doctor for his boss, the new Crime Master. Neither was able to take him alive, but the encounter made Venom and Jack-o'-lantern longtime enemies. He was later sent to the Savage Land to destroy Crime Master's Antarctic vibranium shipment. Venom was attacked by Kraven the Hunter, who believed that the spider's shadow would be able to end his curse. Upon learning his opponent was handicapped, Kraven was outraged and attempted to kill Flash outright to assuage his honor, but it was carried away by a swarm of giant bats. Flash was separated from the bats. So this is all stuff now that he was doing as Venom. So this was Flash Thompson basically as Venom. They continued to Betty Brant had been lost. They continued to search for him, and returning to that whole Project Rebirth and stuff like that. Headquarters Flash learned that his father had cirrhosis of the liver and did not have much time to live. And then, of course, he became Agent Venom. They basically militarized him, where he ended up getting guns and stuff like that. So you see him holding guns in the comics, like right here. He ended up using machine gun rifles and stuff like that. He still did have the symbiote, but he became kind of like a weapon of war because they knew he couldn't be killed. He couldn't be hurt, similar to Eddie Brock. The only things that could really hurt him were the same things that could hurt the symbiote, which was fire and stuff like that, and sound. So, and unless people knew that, they really couldn't do anything to really hurt Flash Thompson at all. So, so that is how he became Agent Venom. And there you see him in some other comics. These are a little bit newer. This is Agent Venom, of course, with Red Hulk. And you see, I think that's, Ghost Rider down there at the bottom. Different Ghost Rider than we're used to seeing. But, and I think that's X-23. Yeah, that is X-23 with them as well. So he goes through a lot of this. Now, Flash Thompson is no longer Venom in the comics at all. He's still in the comic books. He's still in Spider-Man books and stuff like that, but he is no longer Agent Venom now because, of course, Eddie Brock is back and all that stuff. They had a big thing with Carnage and Null and the Venom Wars and all that stuff where he got the symbiote back and through all that. So, and here's another. You can see him on the bottom here. On the bottom right. And of course, now he's with, this was with an Avengers team that he joined, I believe. Let's see if I have the notes for that. Let's see. I thought I did. Let me go and look here real quick. No. But yeah, so he joined some different teams throughout. And as you can see him here, he's teamed up with, I think that's Captain Britain, who's in that. It's Johnny Storm. That's the Human Torch there. I think it's Hawkeye in the middle, down at the bottom, and Black Widow as well. So he did join some teams along the way when he was Agent Venom as well. And he also did fight with Spider-Man in battles and stuff along those lines also. So, all right, that's all the notes there from that. Okay. We're now going to go over, before we finish the Comics Corner here, we're going to talk about Scream a little bit. And again, I don't have the slides up for this. I apologize. But so Scream is a supervillainous appearing in American comic books by Marvel Comics. The Scream symbiote has appeared in Spider-Man comics as one of 5 symbiote spawns created simultaneously and has had 4 different types. There were 4 different people who were Scream. Donna Diego was the first one that was in Venom Separation Anxiety. The book was out in March 1995, so that was number 4. During the 90s, after Venom got really, really popular, they had a book called Venom Lethal Protector. That was the one where he kind of turned good, right? Where Eddie Brock kind of turned good, and he went to San Francisco, kind of the one that they do the movie after a little bit more, because he's a good guy in that. And he was helping the heroes and stuff like that. He kind of turned over a new leaf. He didn't really understand why he was trying to kill Peter Parker and all that kind of stuff. And then he kind of turned over a new leaf and switched up. So he went out west. And so a lot of this stuff that happened in this, and then a lot of this Lethal Protector stuff as it goes, that was when you started to get these symbiote comic books that started to come out a little bit later. And, so that's where you see a lot of this. Donna Diego, like I said, was the first one. She first appeared in Venom Lethal Protector number 4 in May of 1993. So if you want to see the first appearance of Scream, that is where you will see her. She was created by David Michelini and Ron Lim. So they're the creators. And again, 3 alter egos: Donna Diego, Patricia Robertson, and Andy Benton. She was with the Sinister Syndicate for a little while. Her abilities: all powers of Spider-Man, as you would expect, shape-shifting and camouflage, autonomous defense capabilities, and undetectable by spider senses. The Scream symbiote was one of 5 symbiotes that was forcefully spawned from the original Venom symbiote. So the Venom symbiote basically had babies and was their unofficial Californian leader. Donna was a volunteer for the Life Foundation, a survivalist group within the American government preparing both for the mutually assured destruction fallout of the Cold War and to provide a comfortable life for wealthy clients after the impending nuclear holocaust. Carlton Drake was experimenting with symbiotes in the hopes of creating so-called super cops to watch over the imagined fallout shelter Utopia, and Donna was picked from the security force made up of police, soldiers, and mercenaries. During Scream's first public appearance, she encountered Spider-Man while terrorizing a shopping mall near Salinas, California, of course. Quickly bested by the more experienced fighter, Scream escaped in a hovercraft which returned her to the Life Foundation's base. Unknown to her, Spider-Man had hitched a ride on that same hovercraft once he helped Eddie Brock escape. So they had Eddie Brock like a captive, and then Spider-Man helped to get him out of there. Scream and the other Guardian symbiotes, Lasher, Phage, Riot, and Agony. Imagine that. There they are. Lasher, Phage, Riot, and Agony. So Lasher, we are getting Riot and Agony as well. Then tangled with Spider-Man and Venom, but Venom turned an accelerated aging device on the 5. The age-accelerating machine appeared to make the symbiotes age to dust before the Life Foundation blew up the base. That horrible way to die. Patricia Robertson was the second one who had it. The Scream symbiote, still bonded to Donna's corpse after having absorbed Donna's consciousness, is resurrected by Null. This is during the whole Null thing, and goes to help Cletus Cassidy harvest the codices. Cletus, of course, is Carnage. Of previous civilians who at some point had been bonded to symbiotes. Patricia Robertson, who had previously hosted a clone of Venom, later ambushes, but the Scream symbiote decides to bond to her, leaving Donna's bones behind. Patricia struggles for control, but eventually the Scream symbiote forces Patricia to hunt other previous hosts. Then Andy Benton. Persuading the Scream symbiote to resist Null's control a second time, Patricia sacrifices herself in an attempt to save Andy Benton, and the Scream symbiote bonds to Andy. Transformed into a black-haired version of Scream, Andy breaks free of the meat hook and feels the Scream symbiote healing her wounds. Wow, she was up on a meat hook. I didn't read a lot of these. I read the Lethal Protector stuff, and I kind of got a little disenamored with it after like the 90s and stuff. I wasn't reading a lot of Venom after that. It got kind of weird. So this is called some news to me. Andy notes that she can feel not only the Scream symbiote's mental voice, but those of Carnage's doppelganger Horde. She feels Carnage trying to... I'm going to cut it off here. Compel her. Yeah, wait, hold on. I think I get... Compel her to obey. Donna Diego's superhuman abilities stem from the Scream symbiote. Scream often uses her hair as a weapon to grab or tangle enemies. Now, if you played with the card yet, you'll see that. The hair animation comes out. You'll see her hair will like tangle up and it'll go whoosh, and it'll crack the other character with the hair. So that's where they got that from. To wrap or tangle enemies, much like Medusa of the Inhumans. And can mimic clothing as camouflage, like Spider-Man and the Venom symbiote. Peter used to have the Venom symbiote on, and it was just it looked like regular clothes. It would look like a suit or whatever you wanted it to look like. Scream has wall crawling and web slinging abilities and boasts an early warning sense, so spider senses. Also possesses some degree of superhuman strength, the exact limits of which are unknown. Now, this is where you can find them if you want to read about them. Absolute Carnage, Scream number 1 to 3. That came out in January 2020. Also, Absolute Carnage Separation Anxiety number 1. Scream Volume 1, The Curse of Carnage. That's volume numbers 1 through 5. That came out also in August 2020. Suffer the Children was Volume 2. That came out also in 2020. Just different months, January, August, November. So you could see a lot of Scream came out during 2020. Whereas, Anti-Venom was out more in the early 2000s and Flash Thompson's character back in the 60s. So Extreme Carnage in February 2022. So this is newer. Extreme Carnage Alpha number 1, Extreme Carnage number 1, Extreme Carnage Phage, Extreme Carnage Riot, Carnage Lasher, and then Agony. So that is where you could find anything you need to find. If you want to read up and catch up on all of these symbiotes and stuff like that, that's where you'll find a lot of them, is in those particular books from 2020. And like I said, if you don't have them, you can always find those on the Marvel app. It is $9.99 a month if you want to get unlimited reading. You can read all the comics you want, and you can find just about everything on there, and most of the stuff that we go through on this show for sure. Even the books that date back to like the first one I showed you, The Origin of Spider-Man, with that old panel of Flash Thompson from the 1960s. So you can find those all on the Marvel Unlimited app, or you can probably get a lot of them even through Amazon and Comixology if you want to purchase them for your own collection. They're usually pretty cheap. If you go, the further back you go, the further the lesser expensive they are. Or you can go visit your local comic shop, which would be awesome. I wish I had one close. You could go visit them, and you could look up a lot of these books if you want to read about these cards that we are seeing in Marvel Snap. So, okay, that is essentially it for the Comics Corner. We are going to go now to the MCU Minute. We're going to finish up the show. Definitely not going to be as long as last week's, I told you, because I went on and on and on about that clone thing. That I know that took a while to talk about. Very confusing, but I also knew a lot about that because I read most of that entire thing. So we went a little bit longer last week, but we're gonna end the show closer to an hour and a half this week. So, okay, so the MCU Minute, and we're gonna talk a little bit of MCU news. Now, the first thing I have for you is we have some news, a little more news about the whole Tom Holland thing and the setup thing and what's going on with that. I know I talked about him the last couple of weeks. He supposedly has been signed on for at least 3 Marvel films and possibly more. And now the rumor is that there's a deal with Marvel and Sony that's going to be happening, where the next sequel for Spider-Man 4 will include the Null character. So kind of like Sony's getting a little bit of what they want, and then Marvel's getting a little bit of what they want. So it does seem or appear as if they're going to be working together down the road. So maybe we won't get such crap from Sony as far as the Marvel stuff is concerned. Maybe it'll be a little bit better. And I don't know, maybe they'll be able to use Tom Holland in some of this. Maybe they'll do their long-awaited and long-rumored Sinister Six film that they've wanted to do, that they've been setting up at the end of some of these movies, right? They set that up with the Vulture character, Michael Keaton's Vulture, being in the post-credits of some of these Sony films, along with the Vulture being in one scene, that Michael Keaton's Vulture, along with Scorpion. Matt Gargan was in the one scene. So Morbius. They were looking like they were trying to get together this big group, and who knows? Maybe if they made a good deal with Marvel, and maybe Marvel will produce it, please. Maybe they'll do that. Maybe one of the Spider-Man films will have him fighting against the Sinister Six. The other news was, oh boy, this movie has just been stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. This was announced. This was on Marvel's roadmap. Was it 4 years ago, 5 years ago? Before Phase 3, I think this was shown. Blade. It's probably there's rumors again saying that they might end up getting a new director. They might have found someone to direct the film, and it might be going forward now. I don't know. It's so hard for me to believe any of this anymore because you just don't know what is going to happen with this film. It's up, it's down. I think it was at one point maybe supposed to have been directed by the director that did X-Men 97. Of course, we know what happened to him. He's not going to be directing anything anymore for Marvel. The big separation with him, and I don't even want to begin to get into that because I don't know what happened there. I certainly am not going to say anything. I know there was legal stuff going on and stuff like that, and he's not coming back for X-Men 97 season 2. So this rumor here, according to the recent report, this is from World of Real, James Samuel has recently met with Marvel Studios over the potential job. While nothing has officially been announced, the report mentions Samuel impressed Marvel, potentially leading to a partnership. This is one of those things where I'll believe it when I see it. This movie just seems to me like it's doomed. You also had that thing happen in Deadpool and Wolverine where Ryan Reynolds, of course, he brought in Wesley Snipes to play Blade in that movie, and everybody saw that, and you saw where he's saying there is only one real Blade, So and Ryan Reynolds is still kind of campaigning to have him be Blade in an actual MCU movie, the same as he's doing with Channing Tatum for Gambit, and all that. So I don't know. I just don't know. There was a plot line shared about the potential movie that was supposed to have been. And basically, it ended up being, I guess the closest I could compare it to would be the movie Rec, R-E-C. If you've ever seen it, it's a horror series that was kind of like found footage, where it was done all on videotapes and stuff like that. And they were saying it was all going to take place in a building, in an apartment building, the whole movie, where Blade is going to be in this building trying to fight off. It also kind of reminded me of The Last Judge Dredd, where he was in that hotel and everything like that, and he was trying to fight off everything in there. And so I'm kind of glad that they're not going forward with that. It didn't seem like a great plot to me. And so, I don't know. But I don't know. I mean, I know there are fans of Blade out there. I know a lot of people love Blade and want to see it again on this big screen. I think you might have more of a shot maybe seeing this on a movie screen along with maybe Marvel Knights. Because they were saying that too, where you might get like a reunion of all the Marvel monsters, like it might be Moon Knight, Blade, Werewolf by Night, maybe Elsa, Man-Thing could possibly be in there, and just have like all the group of monsters coming together in one movie. So that might be where you might see Blade, but I wouldn't get too confident that we're going to see another Blade film anytime soon. So. Other than that, Agatha episode 3, it's been very good. I've really been enjoying it. I'm really, really, really upset that certain things got spoiled. Not going to tell you even where they got spoiled from, but certain things got spoiled as far as like some of the characters go and things like that. So kind of sucks, but what are you going to do? But I'm loving it. I think it's just absolutely great. I can't wait till the next episode comes on. I'm really enjoying it to see where that's going to go. I think it's really, really good. And I'm really happy. I'm really happy that is the case, that it is good and it's been entertaining. And a lot of people are just really, really enjoying it. So I'm glad to see that, because the last couple of Marvel series that were on, what was it? That Nick Fury one with the Secret Invasion thing was just, that was just not good. And some of the stuff that were on before that wasn't great either. So I'm enjoying it. I'm glad it's good, and I'm having fun with it. And then, of course, obviously, before the end of the year, we are supposed to get that new Spider-Man. It's called Your Friendly. That's gone through so many title changes. It used to be freshman year. Now it's going to be just Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So that is animation that we're going to get with that. And it looks very 60s-esque, very much like the 60s. Animation that came with that was in the comic books. Peter wearing the googly glasses and that kind of stuff I showed you with Flash Thompson. That's kind of what the animation looks like. So, but we should get that before the end of the year from Marvel. And that's really it for them until next year, when rumors are obviously the 3 movies, Thunderbolts, which they did come out with another trailer for that, or the actual trailer for that was seen at D23, but nobody actually got to see. The Captain America movie, of course, with Red Hulk and Falcon and stuff. That's on its way next year. And then Fantastic Four, which is going to be they're taking a real chance with this. They are James Gunn's Superman movie next year. And we all know, look, you're a comic book fan, you know how big the name Superman is. But James Gunn is coming out with a new Superman film, and that is going to be released, I think, a week prior to Fantastic Four. So they're being very bold with that. And you're putting up, Fantastic Four against a very iconic DC superhero. So, and now, I guess what they're thinking is behind it is that, people are going to see, normally they're going to see they're comic book nerds like me. They're going to see these movies on the first night or very close to that. So most of the people that are going to see Superman are probably going to see it within the first week, they hope. And then at least, especially by the second week, then you would think that will all die down. And then by that time, Fantastic Four will be out. So, and you all know, I'm looking forward to that one probably more than any of them. I have been a Fantastic Four reader and since many years ago. And I've always loved the books, and I love obviously Galactus and Johnny Storm, like I said earlier. So I'm super excited for the Fantastic Four movie. So next year should be a big year for Marvel. Also, the Daredevil series is going to be one of the Disney Plus series that looks absolutely outstanding, and a very much a continuation of what they were doing on Netflix. So that's going to be good as well. So big year for Marvel next year, and should be a big year for Snap because whenever Marvel does a lot of big things, they get a lot of stuff that's going to come with that. They're going to probably do things to coincide. They may do like a Thunderbolt season. They may do even though a lot of these cards are out already, but they may have, some stuff for that. They may do another Captain America thing that may be coming out. They may do something with the Fantastic Four. There are Fantastic Four characters they can still bring in. I had heard a rumor that Herbie the Robot from the old animated series, who kind of took the place of Human Torch. Human Torch was not in that series for whatever reason, and they had this robot in it instead of him. So there are other characters they could certainly bring in, especially villains, for a Fantastic Four season. Even though you've got all the people from Fantastic Four already in the game, but they could certainly come out with other variations of them, or just variants of those cards, or the villains like a Mole Man, or I'm trying to think of some of the other really famous Fantastic Four villains. We do have Annihilus, we do have Galactus. A lot of their villains are in outer space, but I'm sure they'll think of some other ones that they'll come up with. But yeah, so that's exciting. It's exciting for Snap. It's exciting when there's Marvel movies to coincide with that, or series and stuff like that to coincide with it too. And that's why I talk about it. All right, guys, that is going to do it for me for this episode of the Snap decisions and the weekend meta and all that good stuff. And so I'm gonna clear my mind. I'm gonna do some Zen. I'm gonna clear my mind. It's a new season. I'm gonna clear all the clog. It's like getting clogged to me. That's even a horrible name for a deck, by the way. When you're clogged, you feel awful. You're all stuffy and everything. You have a cold and stuff like that. Yeah, even clog. Clog is like a bad name for a deck. You didn't imagine clog. You're all like, you feel terrible. And then I guess it is appropriate because you feel terrible when you play it, or play against it rather. But I'm going to clear all that out. It's a new start. We're at a new beginning here. New season. Starting all over. And yes, take a deep breath with me. Starting over. New season, guys. Enjoy the new season. Enjoy the new cards. Enjoy, of course, Agent Venom, if you're going to use him, however you choose to use him. I've seen him in some Surfer decks, Surfer lists. Ben Roller from the Snap on This podcast mentioned it. He played in there. Probably going to play in Iron Patriot decks to give them that extra 4 points of power. So if you're going to play him, or if you're going to play the move one, the move list that I have Scream in. If you're going to try that one instead, however you choose to play, have fun with the game, enjoy it. It's going to be a fun month. Like I said, we got the anniversary coming up. We got the voting coming up. Team Armor, the voting coming up. We've got the new game mode coming up in High Voltage. So it's going to be a fun month of October. One of my favorite months of the year. It's Halloween, man. It's Halloween month. Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Have a great rest of your night. Please stay safe. Be kind to one another. Also, make sure to check out my other videos. Like I said, the video last night that I did with Nick, the Greek Geek, the Twitch streamer, obviously, and very, very great guy. Great person to talk to. Check him out on his Twitch. He's awesome. Part of Power on Gaming as well. Go check him out. Check out the video. It is on YouTube. It's on audio right now. Go check it out. It is a longer one, but it's a very fun conversation that I had with him, and it's awesome. So go check that out. And then tomorrow on the show, I have Alufku will be joining me, another awesome creator for Marvel Snap that I'll be talking to for the very first time on my show tomorrow night. That will be out a little later on, 10 o'clock-ish or so probably, and also out on audio, as will this one. All right, guys, have a great rest of your week, or great first week in Snap. Hopefully you all hit your goals and whatever you decide to do. Again, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I will see you all on the next episode of the Snap Decisions podcast. Have a great night, guys, and I will talk to you all on the next one. Take care. This is your Snap DJ signing off.
If only